Hey there, and welcome to the deep dive. Syringe filling line qualification. We'll be unpacking 4 key phases today. They happen in sequence: design qualification, or DQ, then installation qualification, IQ, followed by operational qualification, OQ, and finally performance qualification, PQ. Each one builds on the last, and they're all aimed at one thing, really: total confidence in every single syringe. So let's unpack this journey. Starting right at the beginning, we start our deep dive way before any equipment even gets near the factory floor. This first really foundational phase is design qualification, DQ. Think of it like reviewing the architect's blueprints and meticulously checking every detail before you even think about pouring the foundation. It's all about that upfront planning, documentation, and, well, foresight.
Yeah, this DQ phase is absolutely critical. It really is where we lay the entire groundwork. And one of the core things about DQ is that a seemingly small mistake here, it can snowball massively into huge, costly problems later on. So here we're defining exactly what the user needs. That's the user requirements. We're assessing potential risks, and we're making sure the proposed design, whether it's just one filling machine or a whole line, is fully capable of doing what it's supposed to do. It really is that measure twice, cut once idea, but on a big industrial scale.
That measure twice idea really sticks.
Huh?
So when we're looking so closely at these designs, what are the absolute non-negotiables, the key checks?
Great question. So a huge one for any team is the user requirement specification, or URS. That's your document. It details exactly what you need the machine to do.
Okay, your wish list.
Exactly. And then you've got the functional specification, the FS. That's the vendor's blueprint. It shows how they plan to meet your URS. We really scrutinize the FS against the URS, making sure there are no gaps, no misunderstandings. But a really critical check, sometimes missed early on, is the materials of construction verification, the MOC check.
Oh, MOC.
Yeah, confirming every single part that touches your product. Nozzles, tanks, tubing, everything is made of the right stuff. Usually something non-reactive, like 316L stainless steel.
Okay, 316L stainless steel. Why is that specific type so important? What goes wrong if you use something else?
Ah, good point. Well, 316L is kind of the gold standard in pharma. It's got superior corrosion resistance. It's very inert, so it won't react with the drug. It won't shed particles into it, and it's easy to clean and sterilize, which is vital. If you use the wrong material, say a lower grade steel or maybe a plastic that leaches chemicals,
Not there.
yeah, you could contaminate the product, you could change how effective it is, or even make it unsafe. It comes right back to patient safety. It's fundamental.
Wow, okay, so that's a huge one. Definitely don't want leaching plastic.
Mm.
Beyond the materials, what about spotting potential problems before they're literally built into the machine?
That takes us straight to the risk assessment. Often, it's a technique called FME, failure mode and effects analysis.
MEA, okay.
Yeah, it's not just ticking boxes. It's a really systematic process. We brainstorm, how could this machine possibly fail? What would happen if it did fail? And crucially, how have we designed ways to prevent that, or at least mitigate the effects?
Like backup systems.
Exactly. What if a sensor fails? Is there redundancy? Does the system default to a safe state? It's all about designing out risk proactively.
Makes sense.
And then, just before anything ships from the vendor, we review and approve the Factory Acceptance Test Protocol, the FAT.
FAT protocol.
Right. We need to be sure the tests the vendor plans to run at their place will actually prove the machine works like we expect. It helps prevent nasty, expensive surprises when the machine finally arrives at your facility.
That sounds like a really crucial layer of confidence doing that FAT review. Okay, so the design is perfect, the blueprint's approved. Now we move into bringing this machine to life with installation qualification, or IQ. This sounds like the hands-on part. Your checklist for getting the equipment physically into your facility, it's all about getting documented proof that everything's installed just right, ready to run.
And this brings up a really important point.
Yeah.
Why bother physically checking every single nut-bolt connection? Seems tedious, right?
A little, yeah.
But an incorrectly installed system, doesn't matter how brilliant the design was, it just cannot perform reliably or safely. I actually remember one place, a critical pipe was installed with just a slight downward slope, should have been upward, created a dead leg that couldn't drain properly.
Wow.
Yeah, it led to persistent contamination issues, took weeks to figure out. IQ is all about making sure the physical reality perfectly matches that blueprint we just approved.
Wow, that story really brings it home, those hidden dangers. So what are the absolute must-do checks when that shiny new equipment rolls onto the loading dock?
Well, first up is documentation verification. Boring, but essential. Making sure all the papers from DQ, URS, FAT report drawings are there and signed off.
Yeah.
But then we get physical. And one of the biggest areas for slip-ups we see is utilities connection verification.
Utilities, like power and water.
Exactly. Electricity, compressed air, water, steam, whatever it needs, confirming they're hooked up to the right ports and checking the voltage is correct, the pressure's right, the flow rates are within spec. It sounds basic.
But crucial.
Absolutely paramount. Wrong utilities can damage the equipment, make it unsafe, or just cause inconsistent results down the line.
Okay, that makes total sense. Powering it up right is step one. What else needs that really keen eye during installation?
Next up is instrumentation calibration. Every sensor, every gauge, every measuring device on that machine needs proof it's accurate. So proper calibration with a valid, traceable certificate. You simply can't trust the machine's output if you can't trust its measurements.
Right, garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. And with today's complex automated systems, we do a software and firmware version check. You'd actually be surprised how often maybe an older version or just the wrong version of the software gets loaded by mistake.
Huh.
Yeah, and that can cause all sorts of weird operational glitches later. And finally, and this is critical, the safety features test.
Okay, safety first.
Always.
Hmm.
We're talking about physically hitting those big red emergency stop buttons.
Sure.
Hit them hard, make sure they immediately cut power, halt the machine instantly, no hesitation.
Good to know they work.
And also testing the alarm system, making sure every potential alarm condition actually triggers the right message on the operator screen. So operators know exactly what's wrong and can respond quickly and safely.
Okay, so IQ is really about building that confidence in the hardware itself, making sure it's physically sound, correctly connected, safe, and ready for action. With that done, we move on to Operational Qualification, or OQ. This phase, as I understand it, is about checking that all the equipment's parameters, things like filling volume accuracy or how fast the plunger goes in, actually operate correctly, making sure they fall within the specified ranges. Confirming the machine works as designed, but now under dynamic conditions.
Exactly. What's really key about OQ is that it moves beyond the static checks of IQ. We're done just looking at it. Now we're challenging the machine while it's in motion. We need proof that it doesn't just look right, it actually performs right, under the kinds of conditions it'll face in real production. It's kind of the bridge between a perfectly installed machine and one that performs consistently. It's where we really test its robustness.
Robustness, I like that. So how do you actually push the machine, test those limits, to prove it's robust?
We do that with critical parameter testing. This is really important. We don't just run it at its normal everyday setting. No easy rides.
No easy rides. We deliberately run the system at its minimum allowed setting, its maximum allowed setting, and its normal target setting. We push those boundaries to make sure it performs reliably across that entire validated range. No failures, no deviations.
Okay.
And this is often followed up by a system reliability test. We might run the equipment for an extended period, maybe 24 hours, maybe 48 hours straight, just to assess its stability and performance over time. Does it keep working perfectly hour after hour, day after day? That tells us a lot about its long-term reliability.
So really testing those operational limits. What about the people side of things? The procedures operators will use?
Absolutely critical. A big part of OQ is procedure verification. We're not just checking the machine, we're checking the instructions too. We make sure the startup procedures, the shutdown procedures, are they clear? Are they correct? Can an operator actually follow them safely and effectively?
Makes sense.
And really crucially, we verify the cleaning and changeover procedure effectiveness.
Cleaning. Always important. Especially if the line handles multiple products. We need absolute proof that the cleaning process removes all traces of the previous product. No risk of cross-contamination between different batches or different medicines. This directly impacts product integrity and, well, ultimately your safety as a patient.
Right. You definitely want to know that the medicine you're getting hasn't picked up anything from whatever was run before it. That's a huge point for multi-product facilities. So how does ensuring all these sort of dynamic operational details actually affect the listener, the person who might receive this medicine?
Well, it's quite direct, actually. By rigorously testing all these parameters, fill volume, stop ring force, plunger insertion, cleaning pleuris, we are confirming the machine's ability to consistently do its core job correctly, every single time. It means we can trust that each syringe is filled with the right amount of medicine, that the stopper seals it properly to keep it sterile, that the plunger works correctly. It prevents potentially serious issues like getting the wrong dose or the medicine degrading or contamination sneaking in.
Okay, so OQ proves the machine can do its job correctly under test conditions.
Yeah.
Now we get to the final stage, Performance Qualification, or PQ. Well, OQ tested if the machine works right. PQ, as I understand it, verifies that the entire process, working together, consistently produces a quality product, and this is under normal, real-world production conditions. This sounds like the final exam, the most critical phase.
It really is. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, PQ is the ultimate proof in the pudding. It's about demonstrating that the whole system, that great design from DQ, the correct installation from IQ, the robust operation proven in OQ, all working together, can reliably, consistently deliver a safe, effective, high-quality product, batch after batch after batch. This is the direct link to patient safety. It's what assures you of the quality and consistency of your medication.
So what's involved in these core, sort of definitive PQ tests? This must be where everything truly comes together. That sounds intense.
It is intense, and it needs to be. For any sterile filling line, the absolute cornerstone is the media fill test, sometimes called a process simulation.
Media fill.
Yeah. We essentially run a sterile liquid growth medium, basically. Sterile soup designed to let any stray microbes grow really well through the entire filling line. We run it exactly as if it were the actual drug product, filling syringes, stoppering, everything.
Okay, so you're simulating the whole process with this microbe soup.
Exactly. Then, after filling, all those units are incubated, usually for about 14 days under conditions that encourage growth. The acceptance criterion is incredibly strict. 0 microbial growth detected. 0 contaminated units.
0. Wow.
It demonstrates an extremely high level of confidence that your entire process from start to finish maintains sterility. It proves there are no hidden pathways for contamination to get in. Absolutely vital for injectables.
That sounds like the ultimate stress test for keeping things sterile.
Yeah.
What else gives us that final confidence in the product quality itself during PQ?
Well, beyond the media fill for sterility, we also conduct other process simulations, often using placebos or mock product that mimics the real thing. And here, we often perform a worst-case challenge.
Worst case?
Yeah, we deliberately push the equipment to the edges of its validated operating range. Maybe run it at the absolute fastest filling speed allowed. Or use components that are at the wider end of their acceptable tolerance.
Pushing the limits again.
Exactly. The goal is to ensure the process stays in control and the product quality stays within all specifications, even under the most demanding, challenging conditions it might face in real production. It tells us that even when things aren't perfect, the product integrity holds up.
Okay.
And alongside that, we track yield and rejection rate verification very closely during PQ runs. We need to ensure the process is efficient, yes, but more importantly, that the number of units rejected for any kind of defect is minimal and stays consistently below a predefined acceptable limit.
So it's proving it can handle the tough days, not just the easy ones.
Yep.
And proving it consistently makes good product over time. How do you show that consistency?
That's where statistical process control, or SPC, becomes really powerful.
SPC.
Yeah. During PQ, and often continuing into routine production, we collect data on critical quality attributes and process parameters, things like fill weight, maybe stoppering force, across multiple batches. We analyze this data statistically. The goal is to demonstrate that the process is stable, it's predictable, it's operating in a state of statistical control. All the data points should fall consistently within established control limits, showing low variability. It's how we move from saying, yeah, this process can make good product, to proving this process will make good product consistently, reliably, every single time.
And that, I think, wraps up our deep dive into syringe filling line qualification. We've journeyed through design qualification, installation qualification, operational qualification, and finally, performance qualification, highlighting how each of these critical steps builds on the last to create a truly robust and compliant manufacturing process.